Not every kitten comes into your life wanting to be held. Some come in shaking, some come in flinching at the smallest movement of your hand. Misty was one of those kittens. She was found behind an apartment complex, soaked from the rain, barely 5 weeks old. No mother in sight, no siblings nearby, just a trembling silver tabby pressed into a corner, waiting for the next bad thing to happen. A young woman named Sarah found her that night. She wasn't looking for a cat, she was just walking home after a long shift. But something about that small, shivering shape stopped her in place. She crouched down slowly, the way you approach something you're afraid of scaring off. Misty didn't move. She didn't run, and she didn't come closer either. She just watched, wide-eyed, every muscle tense, like she was bracing for pain. Sarah reached out anyway, and that single motion, one hand moving toward her, would define the next 3 months of their life together. Because to understand what happened between them, we have to go back to that very first night. Sarah wrapped Misty in her jacket and carried her home through the rain. The kitten didn't cry, she didn't struggle, she just went still, the way frightened animals do when they've decided fighting isn't an option anymore. At home, Sarah set up a small space in the bathroom, a towel, a bowl of water, a litter box. Misty went straight into the farthest corner and stayed there. For the first 2 days, she barely moved. She ate only when no one was watching. She used the litter box in complete silence, waiting until the house had gone quiet. And every time Sarah's hand came near Misty, Misty flinched. Not dramatically, just a small, involuntary tightening of her tiny body, like she expected the hand to hurt her. Sarah had fostered animals before, but this was different. This wasn't a cat who needed food or warmth. This was a cat who needed to unlearn fear itself, one careful day at a time. Friends told her it might take weeks before Misty even let herself be seen eating. Others warned that some cats never fully come around, that some fear just gets managed instead of healed. Sarah listened, but she wasn't ready to accept that as the ending before they'd even really started. A vet Sarah spoke with early on had a theory. Kittens separated too young, especially in bad weather, often carry that first trauma in their bodies long after the danger is gone. The fear isn't a choice, it's a memory with no words attached to it. Sarah didn't need a diagnosis to understand that. She just needed to be patient enough to prove over and over that her hand wasn't the thing Misty thought it was. But what happened over the following weeks would change everything. Sarah started small. She would sit near Misty's corner, not reaching, not talking, just existing quietly in the same room. Minutes turned into an hour turned into every evening. She read books out loud, low and steady, letting Misty grow used to the sound of her voice. Slowly, the kitten's eyes stopped darting toward the door every time it opened. Slowly, she started eating while Sarah was still in the room, first with her back turned, then facing her directly. It was a small shift, but it meant everything. Then came the harder part, the hand. Sarah began leaving her palm flat on the floor, a few feet from Misty, not moving, not asking for anything. Days passed. Misty would sniff the air toward it, then retreat. Sniff again, retreat again. Some nights, Sarah wondered if she was imagining progress that wasn't really there. Little did she know, this patient, quiet routine was about to become the turning point of Misty's entire life. One evening, nearly a month in, Misty took one step closer than she ever had, then another, and then, without any warning at all, she pressed the top of her head against Sarah's fingers. Sarah didn't move. She barely breathed. For the first time since that rainy night, Misty had chosen to be touched. I see you still haven't subscribed. Honestly, that means a lot to stories like Misty's not being seen by the people who need them most. If you're enjoying this, take a second and hit that button. It genuinely helps more rescues get told. From that moment on, something in their relationship shifted completely. Misty still had bad days. Loud noises sent her running. Strangers made her disappear under the couch for hours at a time. But with Sarah, the walls kept coming down, piece by piece, week after week. She started sleeping closer, first at the foot of the bed, then curled against Sarah's side, then eventually directly in her arms, purring in a way that startled even Sarah the first time she heard it. By the second month, Misty had developed small rituals of her own. She waited by the door every evening when Sarah came home from work. She followed her from room to room, not out of neediness, but almost like she wanted to make sure Sarah was real, that she hadn't imagined finding someone safe. She even began greeting Sarah's friends, cautiously at first, sniffing an outstretched hand before deciding whether to stay or retreat. Progress wasn't a straight line. Some days, Misty seemed months ahead of where she'd started. Other days, a dropped pan or a slammed door would send her right back into hiding, and Sarah had to remind herself that healing rarely moves in a straight direction. Some stories are too quiet to go viral on their own, and that's exactly why they need sharing. There was one night, about 10 weeks in, that tested everything they'd built. A thunderstorm rolled in without warning, rattling the windows and darkening the whole apartment. The kind of storm that sends most cats bolting for the nearest hiding place. Sarah braced herself, expecting Misty to run for the bathroom, back to that same corner she'd started in. Instead, Misty ran toward her. Not away, toward. She climbed straight into Sarah's lap, pressed her face into her chest, and stayed there until the storm passed completely. That night, Sarah realized something she hadn't fully understood until then. Misty hadn't just learned to tolerate her hand, she had learned to trust it completely, enough to run to it in the middle of fear instead of running from it. That kind of trust doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone chooses patience over frustration, again and again, even when progress is nearly invisible from one day to the next. Today, Misty is nothing like the kitten who once flinched at a fingertip. She falls asleep in Sarah's palm, completely limp, completely unguarded. She headbutts her hand awake every morning, demanding attention she once couldn't bear to receive. She plays with her toys without a hint of the fear that used to freeze her in place. Visitors are sometimes surprised to see her walk right up to them, tail high, curious instead of hiding. Sarah still remembers, and probably always will, the version of Misty who once wouldn't leave that bathroom corner. Sometimes, late at night, she looks at Misty asleep on her chest and thinks back to that first evening, the rain, the flinching, the fear in those wide eyes. It's hard to believe it's the same animal, but it is. She just needed someone willing to wait long enough to find out who she really was underneath the fear. The same hand she once feared is now the only place she truly wants to be. Sarah says it best herself. Trust isn't something you can force onto a frightened animal. It's something you offer, quietly, over and over, until they decide on their own that you're safe. Misty decided, and once she did, she never looked back. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive all at once. Sometimes it arrives one small, trembling step at a time, until one day the fear is simply gone and something steadier takes its place. Would you have had the patience to wait months for a single touch, or would you have given up long before that first headbutt? Tell me in the comments.